Hey everyone, welcome to our channel. Today we want to talk about some of the best music instruments in the world. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Let's see it together. Number 1. Piano. The piano is a musical instrument that produces sound by striking strings with hammers that are controlled by a keyboard. The piano is one of the most versatile and popular instruments in the world, as it can play many genres and styles of music. The piano was invented in the early 18th century by an Italian instrument maker named Bartolomeo Cristofori. He called his invention gravicembalo col pianoforte, which means harpsichord with soft and loud. This name reflects the main innovation of the piano, which is the ability to vary the volume of the sound by the force of the touch. The first pianos were called fortepianos and had a different sound and shape than modern pianos. They had fewer keys, thinner strings, lighter hammers, and smaller frames. Some of the famous composers who wrote music for the fortepiano were Mozart, Haydn, and Beethoven. The modern piano developed gradually over the 19th and 20th centuries as various improvements were made to the design and mechanism of the instrument. Some of these improvements include iron frames, cross-stringing, pedals, cast iron plates, and double escapement action. These changes made the piano more durable, powerful, expressive, and responsive. Today, there are many types and models of pianos, such as grand pianos, upright pianos, digital pianos, and electric pianos. Some of the famous piano makers are Steinway and Sons, Yamaha, Bosendorfer, and Fazioli. Some of the famous piano players are Chopin, Liszt, Debussy, Rachmaninoff, and Lang Lang. Number 2. Guitar. The guitar is a musical instrument that produces sound by plucking or strumming strings that are stretched over a wooden body. The guitar is one of the most versatile and popular instruments in the world, as it can play many genres and styles of music. The guitar has a long and complex history that traces back to ancient times. The guitar is related to various stringed instruments that were played in different regions and cultures, such as the oud, the lute, the vihuela, and guitar. The word guitar comes from the Spanish guitarra, which itself comes from the Arabic kitara and the Latin citara. The modern guitar developed gradually over the 18th and the 19th centuries as various changes were made to the design and mechanism of the instrument. Some of these changes include frets, machine heads, fan bracing, steel strings, and cutaways. These changes made the guitar more playable, tunable, resonant, and loud. Today, there are many types and models of guitars, such as acoustic guitars, electric guitars, classical guitars, and bass guitars. Some of the famous guitar makers are Fender, Gibson, Martin, and Taylor. Some of the famous guitar players are Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, B.B. King, Slash, and John Mayer. Number 3. Saxophone. The saxophone is a musical instrument that produces sound by blowing a single reed mouthpiece that vibrates a conical metal tube. The saxophone is one of the most expressive and distinctive instruments in the world, as it can play many genres and styles of music, especially jazz. The saxophone was invented in the early 1840s by a Belgian instrument maker named Adolphe Sax. He wanted to create an instrument that combined the power of brass instruments with the agility of woodwind instruments. He patented his invention in 1846 and named it after himself. The saxophone has a family of different sizes and pitches, ranging from the soprano saxophone to the bass saxophone. The most common ones are the alto saxophone and the tenor saxophone, which are used in many types of music, such as jazz, rock, pop, and classical. The saxophone has a unique sound and appearance that make it a popular choice among musicians and listeners. Some of the famous saxophone players are Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, Stan Getz, Sonny Rollins, and Kenny G. Number 4. Drums. The drums are a musical instrument that produces sound by hitting a membrane or a metal plate with sticks, hands, or feet. The drums are one of the oldest and most universal instruments in the world, as they can be found in almost every culture and civilization. The drums have a long and diverse history that traces back to ancient times. The drums are related to various percussion instruments that were used for communication, ritual, warfare, and entertainment. Some of the earliest examples of drums are ideophones made from bones, shells, stones, or wood. Some of the most common types of drums are frame drums, cylindrical drums, kettle drums, and bass drums. The modern drums developed gradually over the 18th and 19th centuries as various innovations were made to the design and mechanism of the instrument. Some of these innovations include snares, pedals, cymbals, drum heads, and drum kits. These changes made the drums more versatile, expressive, and loud. Today, there are many types and models of drums, such as acoustic drums, electronic drums, hand drums, and wool percussion. Some of the famous drum makers are Pearl, Yamaha, Ludwig, and DW. Some of the famous drum players are Buddy Rich, John Bonham, Neil Peart, Dave Grohl, and Travis Barker. Number 5. Violin. The violin is a musical instrument that produces sound by drawing a bow across the strings that are stretched over a wooden body. The violin is one of the most elegant and expressive instruments in the world, as it can play many genres and styles of music, especially classical. The violin has a long and rich history that traces back to the Renaissance period. The violin evolved from earlier bowed instruments, such as the medieval fiddle, the lira da braccio, and the rebec. The violin was developed and refined by various Italian instrument makers, such as the Micheli family, Gasparo da Salo, Antonio Stradivari, and Giuseppe Garneri. The violin has a family of different sizes and pitches, ranging from the violin to the double bass. The most common ones are the violin and the viola, which are used in many types of music, such as chamber music, symphonies, concertos, and operas. The violin has a unique sound and appearance that make it a popular choice among musicians and listeners. Some of the famous violin players are Niccolò Paganini, Johann Sebastian Bach, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Ludwig van Beethoven, and Itzhak Perlman.